Hi, I'm Mike Kalfas, and I too feel very blessed to get to address you all tonight. When I met with Nikki and Dottie a few weeks ago, and they talked about this, I just thought, wow, this is great. It's I know a few years ago, a couple years ago rather, when I first started doing town hall meetings, and my friend Charlotte, the first time I was at one she spoke at, she said, "Where have y'all been?" I kind of feel the same way about this, you know, a group of God's children coming out to say, you know, okay, let's start the ball rolling. I feel like it's time, you know, where y'all been? So it's time we get this part of the answer going. I know my friend Jim's out there wondering, is he really going to make this in 8 minutes or not? He's usually the one where we talk to hold the card up and say, 4 more minutes. I promise I'm not going to talk all night. But I really love what Donna said. You know, her quote in her testimony that came out of, I think it was Genesis 50:20. What you meant for evil, God used for good. A lot of times we have trouble understanding how God can take those things in our lives that just seems so just overwhelmingly evil that Satan's tormenting us with, and turn them out to be good. And if we just let God use His power, He comes out for good. In my life, addiction's taken and done something just totally unexpected in my life, because I have to be honest with you all, you know, 17, 18 years ago, I was probably one of the biggest agnostics y'all would want to meet, and was treating my addiction. I mean, I went through the motions. I went to church. I did what I was supposed to, because I was a dad. I was supposed to take my young kids to church, and was supposed to do this. I was supposed to do that, but it wasn't until I saw the spiritual battle that was going on around me that I was really convinced of God's presence. And I think one of the things that you see when you see God working in something is you realize one of the signs of God's presence is He doesn't just limit His presence to 1 or 2 little things. When you see God acting in something, His actions are pervasive. They transcend everything in the situation. Like when God acts in an addict's life, He's touching everyone around him. And in my case, when God was acting in the lives of the addicts that I was treating, He was using those same addicts to touch my life. We have a secretary at Christ Chapel who, when she gives her testimony, she's talking about how God was touching her life. She was touching my life. You know, her and her husband's, their walk with Christ was strengthening my walk with Christ and convincing me of Christ's reality. You know, you have a doctor helping an addict, but an addict introducing Christ to a doctor. So, that's how God works. He doesn't just do one little thing at a time. I always told God I wasn't going to do addiction medicine. Well, when He flooded Falmouth, He threw me into the drug and alcohol unit, and I became an addiction doctor. Every time I told God no, He told me yes. One of the things I found, the deeper I got into this is a disease. It really is. It's just like any other disease. I love some of the comments that Michelle made. You know, you have to realize that this is a disease, and telling, you know, what other disease do you say you can only treat one certain way? Recently, and some of my friends in the audience may remember this this particular event. There was a event back in December where members from our Heroin Impact Response team, we had to discuss certain aspects of, I won't go into all the details, but we had a big meeting, and my job, I was given 10 minutes, and they said, I want you to, we need you to explain medication-assisted therapy, or medication-assisted treatment, that is the use of medications to treat addiction, to some very important people. And you have 10 minutes to do it. Okay, I had 2 weeks to prepare for that talk. Okay, well my friends don't know what went on behind the scenes is I wrote what I was going to say about 6 times. I threw it away, I rewrote it, I threw it away again and rewrote it. And what I wrote was total crap. Pulling off the interstate, of course I was late as usual. I'm pulling off the interstate on my way to Brighton Center, and I had this total epiphany from God. I took what I wrote, and I crumbled it up and threw it on the floorboard of my truck. And this is the part they probably don't know. I had what I believe was a word from God. I'm getting a little nervous talking about this, but what I said that day, I think some of you may remember what I came up with. It came to my head as I was pulling into the parking lot in Brighton Center. And I'm not taking credit for it, but I think it came across very good. And I'm just gonna, in 2 minutes, share it with you guys, because that's all it takes. I was given 10 minutes to say it, and it only took me 2 minutes to get the point across. Because when I started, they thought I was totally insane. Because I was supposed to talk about medications and addiction, and I walked up and took the mic and I said, I'm going to talk to you all today about diabetes. And I'm like, what is this guy's problem? And I said, I'm a diabetic because of genetics and some bad personal choices when it comes to taking care of myself. And because of those choices, I now have a disease that's trying to kill me. So about 3 years ago, I went to see my doctor, and she put me on a medication called insulin. And with that medication, I've controlled my disease. And my disease had been under control until, at this point, it was 6 months ago. That disease remained under control. And I wasn't doing really well at controlling my behaviors, but my eating behavior. I wasn't listening to my dietitian real well. But I did a decent job. I kept my A1Cs in the mid-7 range. But I was very, very large, probably approaching 400 pounds. And at some point last summer, one of my other doctors, my cardiologist, managed to flick a switch in my brain. And I got it. And I decided that I was going to start listening a little better. And I started losing weight. And at that point, I'd lost about 65 pounds. Now I'm down about 90 pounds. And by about the end of September, I managed to wean myself off of my insulin. And my sugars were now under control. My diabetes is now controlled from here because I'm listening to the advice of my counselor. And so now my disease is controlled because I'm doing what I need to do. I'm contemplative about my disease. I'm managing it, I'm under control with it, but it's still there, and the minute that I quit controlling it, it will come back and it'll try to kill me again. And some people that have this disease need insulin, some need this pill or that pill, some don't need any medication at all. Some people with adult diabetes are very lucky. They see their doctor, and the doctor sends them to an educator, and the educator says, stop doing what you're doing, lose 20, 30, 40, 100 pounds, and your disease will be under great control, and you'll be doing fine. And they'll do that. A small percentage can do that. Some can, some can't. The end result, unfortunately, some people won't do any of that, and they will die young from their disease. They'll lose their feet, they'll end up on dialysis, and they'll have a heart attack. At this point in my talk, I looked at them and said, fortunately for me, cheesecake isn't illegal. But heroin is illegal, and at that point, we, switched gears a little bit. Sure, there are some places where that analogy doesn't exactly fit, but y'all get the point. This is a disease. I would make a comment, I would maybe challenge one thing that was said a little earlier. I don't know anyone that doesn't, in their right mind, want to be separated from this disease and be cured from it. I think there's just such a degree of brain dysfunction in some folks that their brain's not working well enough for them to realize or actualize that potential. This is a brain disease that sometimes the brain just isn't working enough and it needs some help to be stabilized. Some people are capable of doing it without medication, and more power to them. I think that's great. I don't think there's anything wrong from a Christian standpoint of using medication to help them. When Christ himself met with people, sometimes he met their physical needs first, right? He healed their blindness, he fed them, he took care of whatever physical need they had, and then he presented the gospel to them. when he fed them, whether it was physical or whatever, but he met a physical need. And then he presented his message to them when he took care of whatever physical thing was keeping them from listening to him. That's how Jesus works, and I think as an emissary of Christ, that's how I'm called to work as well. So there are some people that I'll say, hey, I'll totally endorse your abstinence-based approach. There are some people that need a certain medication. What I ask our legislators to do is continue to work to free me up to use those tools so that I can help these folks, whether it be Suboxone. I know several people that are alive because of methadone or because of Vivitrol, which is a blocker drug that's not controlled. We've had some very good laws passed earlier this year. We've had some setbacks in the spring. There was some really unusual restrictions placed on Suboxone or buprenorphine that make it more difficult for me to prescribe those medications for people that I consider a setback. So we're not where we need to be yet, but definitely we're going forward. We're talking about it, and God's people are coming together, and we're talking. So I am going to take the bait and take 30 more seconds. I'm going to jump on the needle exchange bandwagon for 1 second. I can't resist it, I'm sorry. So I will just add to that from a medical standpoint. Number one, giving people clean needles will in no way, shape, or form encourage people to use drugs that weren't going to use them anyway. What you will do is make them safer. You will create a venue for them to possibly be offered help and treatment. You will keep them from throwing them out the window and in the parks and on the street. You will give safer needles that they will use that are less likely to transmit the diseases. And I would leave you with one last thought on this. Why do we not have as big an HIV problem in Northern Kentucky as we do a Hep C problem? Anybody have an answer for that question? Neither do I. The $10 million that they were arguing about for treatment in Frankfurt today, peanuts compared to what's going to happen if we have the $27 million we spent on HIV, triple it. I mean on Hep C rather. The $27 million spent on Hep C so far, triple that annually if we have 2,000 HIV patients to take care of. And that's going to be every year because you don't just treat that once and it goes away. We treat that every year if they have HIV. So the only way to fight that is either stop using IV drugs or prevent the spread. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend, Pastor Craig.